Welcome to Build to Scale, e-commerce show by Atkins Agency. Today we'll be talking with Jennifer Harvey. She's the CEO of Chic Sparrow, largest manufacturer of leather handmade notebooks in North America. And she has actually an amazing story here, how she went from her kitchen table and just starting, to do her e-commerce business from zero to right now hiring over 20 people who are, working parents, stay-at-home moms, and just hearing impaired, and just creating a huge cost and something with a meaning. So Jennifer, maybe you could introduce yourself to the audience a little bit better, more in depth.
Well, thank you, Darius. Thank you for having me here. It's always nice to do an interview, and you introduced me pretty well. I started on my kitchen table and knew nothing about business, and over the last 6 years, I have had the School of Hard Knocks. That's an American little idiom thing, but yeah, so just basically we make leather notebooks. Here's one as an example. This is one of the first ones that I made. And I started making them because I wanted a notebook for myself. Journaling is a great therapy. And especially if you struggle with depression or any kind of like mental stress, journaling is great for that. And I was going through a really hard time in my life. I had had a miscarriage. I lost a baby and nearly died from it, and was really struggling really, really hard. My husband, he was my strength, but I still just really took it like it was my fault. And so I wanted to journal and really work that out, and I couldn't find a journal that I liked, and that was really difficult. Just trying to find something that I liked, because I knew that if I didn't like it, I wouldn't use it. And so I had been shopping online and in my local stores, and couldn't find anything. And I came across a video on YouTube of a man making a reusable journal, which is basically this right here. And what's nice about it, what really attracted me to it, was that you can take all of these out, and because they have an elastic, let me see if I can just show you. So you can see how it has an elastic, and you can take them out and put new ones in. And so it's reusable, and that was really attractive to me. So I made one, and then I shared it. This is where it just took off. I shared it in a group, on a Facebook group for journaling, and a lady said, "Oh, can you make me one?" Because she really liked it. And I said, sure. I had enough leather left over. I had leather from a previous art project that I had used. At the time, I was a portrait photographer, and I liked to do like these conceptual photo shoots and stuff. At the time, I was a photographer, and I would do conceptual photo shoots, and I made these animal masks out of leather, and we had this really fun photo shoot. I had 10 people in the shoot, so we did 10 different masks. It was a lot of fun, but I had this leather left over, and that's what I used to make the notebook, and I had enough left over I could make one for her. So I made it for her, and I sent it to her. I didn't charge her anything for it at all. I just did it because why not? And then she shared it in another group. Okay, this is I don't know what kind of marketing this is called, but this is how it happened. And then next thing I know, I'm getting emails from people saying, "Hey, can you make me one?" And so I was like, well, I have to go buy more leather. So I went and I bought some more leather, and I charged them to make it because I had to buy more leather. And then I just kept they were sharing with their friends, and I just kept getting more people asking, "Can you make me one?" And so I put it on my Etsy store, which I already had. It was already named Chic Sparrow. I sold digital papers. That's how my Etsy store started. So I started selling the journals on Etsy, and it just took off. I couldn't keep up with how many orders I was getting every day. And I'm working on my kitchen table. We live in about 697 square foot home at the time, and I still own the home, and one of my employees actually lives in it, and she rents it from us. But 697 97 square feet, tiny, tiny house. All I have is my kitchen table. That's the only room I have in the whole house. And so I cannot fathom it right now, because if I look at what I have now and where I started, I don't know how I did it all, but it was just me and my daughter. My daughter was on spring break, and at the time, how old was she? She was 15. And so she was, she would help me, and, you know, she would do her little part and everything. And we would just talk all day long. We worked about 12 to 14 hours a day. And slave labor, I know, slave child labor, but she voluntarily helped me. So she wasn't made to help me, but yeah, so that was the roots. That's where we started from.
Sounds amazing, that sometimes you can just go from like a small act of kindness straight into a business, right? And another thing I believe for the success of your business was a huge part of just having a good product, right?
Oh,
Something that is made
yeah.
with love, personalized.
My personal thing is that I will not compromise quality. I will throw something away if it doesn't meet my standard. I will throw it away, and I don't like to do that. So I strive very hard to maintain quality, and I take pride in my work. Are there people that do better work than me? Absolutely. Absolutely there are. But I know I'm doing the absolute best that I can.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, one of the secrets for what I'm seeing, at least in super successful e-commerce businesses, that some of the businesses are just focusing on making cash, right? We are never, long-term, successful, sustainable businesses. And for you to be in this niche for 6 years and to constantly grow, right? You are doing something right with just very basic thing about taking care of a good product, making sure the customer is satisfied, and I guess I will drop in like a bit of digital marketing thing just for audience, just like 30 seconds. Even if you're like, say, spending a little bit more on paid advertising or something, whenever you get a customer, most likely if you're selling such a good product, he's referring somebody else, right? And it's
Oh,
kind of,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you
That's where we
do?
started.
Yeah. What did you do to kind of continue growing? Like you got like the first sale, that person posted it online, right? You get a bit more sales, you went to Etsy, right? So was it like more about just, okay, that's organic sales what I'm getting and that's about it? Or did you try maybe something else?
No, it was all organic. And it's still very much organic, but about, I want to say about 2 years ago. So the first 4 years, it was all organic. And then I started, like, Darius, I knew nothing about business other than running my own photography business. I knew nothing about like the manufacturing business. Um, like when I got my first employees, and you know, praise God, she's still with me. My very first 2 employees, they're still here. They're still here, and they've seen it all. They've been through everything with me. I mean, they know me so well. But the first 4 years, I didn't do any advertising at all. I just kept my website up, because after about, I would say, the first 8 months, I kept everything on Etsy, but then Etsy started getting too small for me. And so I got my own e-commerce website. And I was scared to leave out Etsy, because I know that people, Etsy would bring customers to me that I might not normally get, but I had to, because Etsy was too small for me. So I went to my own website, and I kept in contact with my customers. I would say that was my advertising. I would make YouTube videos. I would talk to them. I have a Facebook group, and I go there regularly and talk to them. They very much have face-to-face time with me, and they've always had that. And I think after 4 years, I realized that my customers are, 80% of them are return customers, which I don't know if that's normal, because again, I don't know that much about business, but I don't think that is normal to have 80% return customers. Like of all the things that you're selling, 80% of them are people that just keep coming back over and over and over again. And I thought, well, that's great. I'm so thankful. That's a blessing. But how do I get more new customers? And so I started advertising so that I could get new customers. And that's worked pretty well for me. I do use the PPC style of advertising on Facebook. Um, and then I have like ad roll and stuff like that.
Awesome. Great to hear that. And once again, you touched on very like interesting trend that we're seeing right now, that the businesses that are the most successful, we have a soul in them. And it means there's like a personal connection, where like a customer can connect with the owner, and it's not, just a brand logo. And this is even what we are doing with our agency. We are putting ourselves out there for people to see us and to get to know us, right? Because we are not buying from brand, right? We're buying from a person. And it's very interesting. How did you understood these principles? Did they came to you naturally? Did you read certain books or something? How did you try to educate yourself about it?
About how to run a business?
Maybe let's
Or
talk,
about,
yeah, about just positioning marketing, because these are principles, that a lot of people spend a lot of time to learn.
well, okay, I don't know if you're going to like my answers, because honestly, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I still don't know what I don't know, but I just, it, it felt natural to talk to them because they had so many questions, and concerned sometimes, but mostly it was questions, because not a lot of people, excuse me, not a lot of people have a understanding of what leather is and how it's made and all the different types of leather and why color is like this. And because I was getting those types of questions, I started making videos to answer those questions, because I was only one person. And I thought, well, if I make a video, that video will tell hundreds of people, and I don't have to answer the same question 100 times. And so to me, that's what I was doing. It was like out of necessity. But then it turned out to be, people really liked that, and they liked to have that one-on-one with me. I would do live videos. Do you remember Periscope? Do you
Oh
remember that?
yeah.
Yeah. So I would do live stuff on Periscope. But that got out of hand because there's a lot of not savory people on Periscope that would just join in and say some unsavory things. So I got off of Periscope pretty quick, but now I just use Instagram and Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, and have
I
you
don't
tried?
even have a Twitter anymore.
Okay, yeah, like Twitter, I think it's kind of like, has its own audience, but like for marketing, most likely it's not the best place, right?
It
Uh,
never really did anything for me, so I deleted my account.
have you tried like any other things, that haven't worked? Maybe, besides, let's say, what you mentioned about Periscope and Twitter?
Um, as far as social media goes,
Just overall, like marketing strategies. Maybe it could be even, some sort of crazy marketing strategy, or maybe not even digital side, right?
well, I did some research, and anytime I try to do something, if I plan it out, I will research it extensively. I did some research on advertising locally, and I decided on my own, like I didn't consult anyone, but I decided on my own that anyone local, there's not enough people locally to sustain my business and to scale it. It's just, I live in a town with about 250,000 people, and that's not small, but it's not big enough for a reusable journal shop. It's not going to sustain me. So I did not try to advertise locally, like on local television or on the radio or anything like that, because I felt like it just wouldn't be a good use of my money, and I still feel that way. So
Okay, makes sense. And whenever you're kind of like growing from just, like initial product to where you are right now, um, were there like any big changes that you did to your product lines, how they were like packaged, what type of materials you were using?
yes, absolutely. So when I first started, I can give you an example. Hang on. Let me grab it. Here it is. So when I first started, this is the design that I was making. So it was just plain on the inside. That's nothing. Um, the elastic was in the back, and it had a single elastic down the spine, which I have an empty one somewhere. I can show you the progression in my office, which isn't here, but in my office, I have an example. I have like one of everything I've ever made on a shelf, and it's kind of cool to see where it's all
the
come
history,
from.
right?
Yeah, the history's right there, and it's a constant reminder for me. But okay, so when I first started, that was what it was. It was simple, just one piece of leather. There was like 5 holes that I would have to punch in it, and it was very simple. But then I wanted different things, and my mind is always going, always trying to imagine what would make it better. And so I started doing pockets, because no one else, can you see that?
Yeah, I can clearly see that.
Great. So that's no one else in the industry was making pockets that I saw. I shouldn't say it definitively because I wasn't paying attention to what absolutely everyone else was doing, but I wasn't seeing pockets. And so I started making pockets, and these were actually the first design with the scallops. People still to this day ask me to bring that back because I don't do them that way anymore. But yeah, and then also you'll see that there's 3 elastics instead of 1. And also when I first started, everything was custom made. So, you know, on Etsy, you could message me and say, I want it to be green. I want it to look like this and this size and everything. Everything was custom made. And after about a year of doing custom work, I had to stop, because when you do customized work, first of all, I wasn't charging enough for it. Second of all, it was taking too long. And third of all, I was making too many mistakes. So I had to streamline. I had to change everything about how we were making everything. That was really stressful time. And I had about 6 employees at the time. And we just completely changed. We changed it all. And now we make it to a standard that we have, and you buy it off the shelf. So you're not getting something that's custom made. There are other people out there that make custom made stuff. Go to them if you want a custom made stuff. But if you want something that's going to be very well made, and something that is unique, because leather is always unique. You're never going to get the same piece of leather in a notebook. But yeah, then I recommend you come to us. Also, if you want it fast, because custom made stuff takes forever.
Yeah.
And this is another design. I want to show you. This is another design that I did. So it's got different pockets, and here's the back here. So it has a pocket back here.
Yes.
And so yeah, it's changed a lot, a lot over the years.
And how were all these ideas born, you know, for example, creating pockets? Were you just doing like competitor analysis, or did it actually maybe even came from the group, from like direct contact with your audience?
So one thing about me is I do what I like to do. And being the CEO of a company is actually ideal for me, because I don't do well when people try to boss me around. Unless it makes sense. If it makes sense, yeah, I'm happy to do it. But if I've had so many jobs in the past where I felt that my boss was asking me to do something that didn't make sense. And I would always struggle with it. I mean, of course, I was always respectful, but I would always like have this internal struggle of, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why do I have to do this? And so it was never like a joyful thing for me to work for someone else. And now that I work for myself, I've kind of spoiled myself, because I do what I want. If I want pockets on a notebook, I'm going to put them on there. And then what I do, I'll make a design. I have a brand new design actually that's going to come out as soon as we're out of quarantine. The new design is going to come out. And I made it for myself. And I said, I'm going to make this. And then I showed it to the people, because I have that face-to-face with them. Okay. I showed what I made to them, and I said, do you like it too? And everybody was like, yes, oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. And that is how I come up with new designs, is I make it for myself first, I show them, they give me feedback, and they'll tell me, I like it, or, oh, I would like it better if, or I don't like that at all. And if they don't like it at all, I don't make it, because ultimately I am making it for them, but I need to love it. Otherwise, I don't want to make it. And I don't want my employees to make it. My team,
Yeah.
my team believes in my vision. And so I have to have a good vision for them, or they're not going to be on board.
Yeah. And you mentioned that there were like already like the two first employees that you got, they are still working with you for 6 years, right? That's a pretty
Mhm.
long time. And what do you do, to set up this type of visions in the business, the values that, you are kind of growing within the team, and, what basically makes you as a business, you?
So, yes, we make leather notebooks, but I'm actually in the business of growing people. That's what I do. And so my employees believe in my vision because they believe in me, and I believe in them. I hire people who have skills, who enjoy working with their hands, and who have a philosophy of, how can I make this better? And then I get out of their way. I show them what I want them to do, and then I get out of their way and let them do it. I do not micromanage them at all. But every morning we have a team meeting. 8 a.m. we're having our team meeting. We go around the room. We say, hey, do you have any kudos for your coworkers? And then we all give praise and thanks to our coworkers for jobs that they went the extra mile for. And the team's always helping each other out. I think with the first two employees, and why they're still there, is because in the beginning, because it was just the four of us, my husband, those two ladies, and myself. My daughter had gone back to school at this point, so when she's in school, she doesn't work in the shop, and now she's in college. But anyway, I built that relationship with them in the beginning, and the Irina, she sews, she does all the stitching. We have two people who do the stitching, and she's deaf, and she's from Moldova. So when she came to me, she had only been in the United States for about 2 months, did not speak any English, and is deaf. And so I had to learn sign language so that I could talk to her and, become friends with her. And we developed a friendship. And we're not friends outside of work. We're only friends at work. Because I do keep that definition there, because I don't want people to think that I'm favoring other people. But it was very important to me to build that relationship with her. And then Britta, she started out in customer service, and she now does all our photography, all our videos, and she's in our marketing department. That's where she is now. She's a very social, beautiful soul. And I just developed a friendship with her as well, because I want her to know that I care about her. And all of my employees know that I care about them. And I think that's what makes Chic Sparrow different than any other place I've ever worked, is that I have had a lot of crummy jobs. And I wanted to make Chic Sparrow a place that is a joy to work at. And not to say I haven't made mistakes. I totally have made mistakes with people and hired the wrong people sometimes. But our overall turnover rate is pretty low, pretty low. But yeah, I think what makes us unique is just that I wanted Chic Sparrow to be a place that is a great place to work, where you have autonomy over your job and over your career. And that's what my husband and I have worked very hard to make happen.
That sounds amazing, because Hotly can totally relate with that, because what you're building within Atkins, it's very similar. You're looking for people who are sometimes, they already do have skills, sometimes not. But the thing that you're looking for is just desire and fire to grow. because it's kind of like very interesting field that's very dynamic, and usually it attracts some people who just want to make, quick money, but there's like some, like 1 or 2% of people who are all about self-growth, self-improvement, etc. And we are like always looking, whenever we are looking for new people to join our team, one of the first things we are checking, hey, what type of books you read? What do you do on your free time? Where do you want to be like in year, whatever you have, like even the common goals, and that's like very huge differentiator. And even, right now I could also attribute huge success. Huge part of our success is in business to the right people, and actually not like us as a managers or something who right like that. It's more about the people, right? And how you can help them.
Oh, absolutely. During this whole pandemic that's going on right now, I refused to lay off anyone. I didn't want to lay off my employees. We're still paying them. Praise God, we're still paying them their full wages, and they didn't have to go on unemployment. They're waiting to come back to work, and they're all very eager to come back to work, but we're still doing, and it's just a testament to my customers, really, because without their support through the years, we wouldn't be able to continue to pay them. So I'm so thankful for the position that I'm in right now. And, I am very loyal to my employees, and they're very loyal to me. And, it's just an incredible team.
Yeah,
I'm very,
absolutely.
very fortunate. And I don't for a second forget that.
Yeah. Congratulations about that, because it's certainly like a good thing to have. And, a lot of people try to do it, but they can't. And it just kind of,
It's hard. Like my heart breaks hearing all the people that had to be laid off, and I know why. I mean, I'm a business owner. I know why they had to be laid off, and it sucks. It's horrible. And I just hope that once this is over, everybody can go back to their jobs and go back to their lives, and we can just put this behind us and never think of it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough, and I'm not in any judgment whatsoever of people that have had to lay off their employees. I get it. It is tough. I mean, my husband and I went back and forth a lot, but I refused. I was like, no, we can't do that. Like I went into my own personal savings to keep paying them, like it's okay. That's what it's there for. So
yeah. And I even have like, a post in the group about that you can lay off your people, and, it makes sense sometimes, right? But if you can, cut off your own paycheck or just part of a paycheck, right? And actually, show people that you care and you put them first, you will create such a loyal, people that will enable you to drive a business so much further when the time is actually good and, economy changes. So it's more about, standing behind the people and, making sure that we are good, we are secure. And first of all, just prioritizing them essentially. Another question. What were your, let's say, main business struggles when you were just starting, maybe going from, let's say, a kitchen to forming like hiring first people, maybe creating some sort of supply chain or something like that?
So my main struggle, I thought about this many times actually, and my main struggle was always myself, really just getting out of my own way, and understanding how much I really didn't know, you know, um, and being organized. I wasn't very organized, and 90% of the things I did was just a complete waste of time. So it was just learning to get more organized, learning my schedule, learning that I didn't have to work 14 hours a day, and just learning all of those little steps. That was a struggle for me because I had this in my head that if I had 50 orders in one day, then 50 orders had to be in the mail that day. And so I would work 14 hours and not take breaks, barely take time to eat lunch, and then right back to work, because in my head I was like, no, these orders have to be out today. I have to finish them today. And so I just had that drive in me. But when I realized, oh, they don't have to be out today, they just need to be out within 48 hours. And so once I did that, I was able to manage my time better, because 14 hours a day, just working solid one person, it was tough. It became my life. I didn't have time for anything else, didn't have energy for anything else. And just learning that, first of all, I didn't have to do it all. Other people could do stuff too, that was the other thing too, is when I hired people, um, I still felt like I needed to do it for them. And, at first I did because they were learning, but once they learned, I really quickly learned, okay, get out of their way. They're totally capable. I can trust them. Get out of their way, let them do their job. And I think that was the biggest struggle. As far as supply chains go, I had to research really, really hard to find the leather that I wanted and form relationships with the leather houses. I'm still good friends with all of them, and forming those relationships was hard for me. I'm very much of I I don't have a lot of friends, but the ones I have are gold. And so going outside of my box to form friendships with people was a little bit difficult, but I managed to do it. I know how to do it now. To have a genuine connection with people, it's important to me. I don't try to just use them, but they know me, I know them, and I set those things up. But it took a long time because at first I was using a local leather store here in town, and I made friendships with them too. Like, he knew the kind of leather that I wanted, and because I didn't have room for stuff, I went there every single morning and bought the supplies that I needed. And so he saw me every single day for over a year. And so he knew what I was doing. He would give me tips and tricks and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, just a lot of research in the beginning. That was a big challenge. I wish I would have hired a personal assistant back then. That would have been great.
Yeah, and you know what you're talking about. It's kind of like the struggle that I believe every entrepreneur has to go through at least once, right? Because this is kind of a things that you have to learn if you want to grow as a business. And right
Mm-hmm.
now, what I'm seeing, from your path, that there are same consistent, key indicators of success. Person was able to trust their team, person who's able to create a team culture, person who has a bigger vision, person who cares about product, about customers. You could be, there are like hundreds of different types of businesses, but the ones that are the most successful, we do have like the same qualities over and over. And even, when we are doing like calls with, let's say, potential leads, my partner Justin is actually responsible for that. And he's asking questions about that, right? This is one of the criteria when we are choosing whom to work with. Because why would we be working with somebody who just wants to make a quick cash, right? It's not a long-term focus here. And how were let's say, your struggles changing after you learned to let go a little bit? Did like a new struggles arise?
Well, every day there's always some sort of struggle. Um, Once I let go, and just got out of the way, I was able to relax myself and focus on the things that I liked to do. And you know, I still have an office, but I prefer to work with my hands. So I don't spend my entire day in the office. I will go down on the work floor and I will work down there with my employees, and you know, just shoulder to shoulder with them, and we get the job done, and we go. And I really like that, because I don't want a desk job. I, that's not fun to me. So I like to go down and I like to make things with my hands, and that's what I do. But there's still struggles. Anytime you interact with another human being, it takes effort, and there's always going to be struggle there. Communication is a big thing. Uh, my biggest struggle right now is I think I'm communicating clearly, but then the actions of what happens with people taking the words and putting them into action isn't always the same thing as what I thought I communicated. So that's a struggle. Um, right now, I still have 80% return customers, and getting new customers. I mean, they're coming, but I feel like it should be faster. you
Okay.
know, but that's, I don't. I hired ad agency, a local one, and they've been helping me like do new stuff like outside the box because my box is very limited and they think outside of my box. And so they've been helping me do stuff. And I hired them actually because the girl that I had in that position decided she wanted to go to nursing school. And so she left. And so I was like, well, I will hire a local agency. It'll probably cost me less than her yearly wages. And they will hopefully help me out. So that's kind of where I am right now. I've only been working with them for about a month before the pandemic hit. So.
Oh yeah. And I guess you mentioned, from what you were talking about, I kind of understood that pandemic is, I guess, not very good opportunity for you and your business, right?
Oh no, we had to close our shop. We haven't worked since March.
Yeah.
And yeah, they closed us down, and we're hoping to go back April 4th. But we're not open to the public. It's just our team, and the public cannot just come in the door and start walking around. They're not allowed.
Yeah. So yeah, because what's interesting, a lot of our clients actually right now are kind of achieving their peak performance compared to, any time before, even Black Friday or something. They just wash away compared to what the numbers we are getting right now. And it's actually very interesting. And, it could even be, because a lot of local businesses are closed, right? And people do not have where to spend their money. So if there's opportunity, they usually just spend it somewhere else. So yeah, it's interesting how all this situation is affecting different types of businesses. Now let's see, looking back at all this journey, from all the things you went, what would be like things that you wish you knew beforehand, or how you have done things differently?
I wish I had adapted lean. Have you heard of lean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish I would have adapted that in the beginning. Like that whole philosophy, we have adapted it over the last year, and it has been the best change that we've made. And I wish I would have adapted that back then, because it has affected my entire life, home, work, everything. So definitely that. And then the other thing, maybe started advertising a little bit sooner. 4 years was a long time to go on organic, but I am pretty proud of the fact that I didn't need to, because we were making more notebooks than I can even count. I mean, the very first year that I did it all by myself, I did 10,000 notebooks. I made 10,000 with my own two hands.
That's amazing.
And I quit counting after that. Okay, I was like, nope, not going to count anymore. So, but yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, so just maybe start advertising a little bit sooner, and just to get the word out more. And but my customers do a really good job of doing that for me. So I'm
Yeah.
not complaining.
Certainly, with 80% like return rate, that's crazy. What you're seeing with very good businesses is 30-40%. But
Oh
that's
wow.
already with pretty decent businesses, right? 80% is like the next level thing. It could be because there's like not a lot of cold traffic, right? So that could be part of a reason, and like new customers. But anyways, if you're able to sustain and grow a business just mainly from referrals, you're doing something amazingly right. And maybe, summarizing all this talk that we had, you could give, 3 pieces of advice that people could just go and, implement into their businesses. If, let's say, we are just starting, looking to find their niche, or, just overall looking to grow their business.
Yeah. So the first thing is do something that you believe in and that you're passionate about. Um, the I can't tell you how important that is. To me, journaling is the key to mental happiness. And I know that for many people, it's the same. And having something that's well made and beautiful and is going to last a lifetime, to me, those were things that I needed in a journal, and I became very passionate about it. The second thing is Do not spend every dime you make. Don't do it. You know, if you make $100, $80 should go back into the business. Live off of 10%. Don't go buy a new pair of shoes or, you know, whatever it is people like to spend their money on. Don't do it. Live off 10% or 20%, 20%. And that other 80% needs to go right back into the business. You will not scale if you don't do that. And that one I learned a long time ago with my photography business. And I've always had that philosophy, the 80-20 rule. I live off of 20, the business lives off of 80. And because I've done that, I haven't had to lay off my employees during this pandemic. So trust me when I tell you that. Do not spend every dime you make. And then the third thing, know that as a company, your team, i.e. your employees, are more important than the product you make. If you cannot build a team that you love, then you probably shouldn't be in charge of them. You know, step down, let someone else be in charge of them. You do something else, but you need to build a team that you love and they love you. That's super important. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have the team that I have. So, you know, you have to build a good team, and you have to build that team up every single day. I mean, you can't just like let them go do their own thing. It's very much like a family, and you need to be there for them, and they need to know that you're there for them. So to me, you're building people, you're building them up, you're helping them through their problems, you're helping them learn new skills, you're helping them become better every single day. And I think that's my 3 pieces there. So
Yeah, and honestly, they're great because this is exactly what, separates a super successful business with long-term growth. Because you are creating a team, you're like not putting yourself first. And in general, just working what you love, right? It's kind of 3 core things. And yeah, I think you're totally right and completely agree with it. And what, Jennifer, I guess, thank you for coming here and sharing some of your experiences with our audience. And I think there are like certainly amazing good tips here, and even something that I might myself, listen through and just take certain notes from. So once again, thank you.
yeah, thank you for having me. I'm glad that I could do it.